Welcome everyone. Very excited for our March Jersey City Tech Meetup event. Really excited for this conversation. We're obviously covering the amazing women in cannabis tonight, and this is really exciting for me because back when we were going to do Green Rush in 2020 in person, the big event is one of our biggest events of the whole year. I collaborated with Chelsea Duffy, and she had a great idea to, let's have a panel dedicated strictly to the women who are, shaking the ground and kind of stirring the pot in this industry. So we're finally making it happen. I'm really excited. We have an incredible panel lined up. So I'm very excited for this conversation. Just a few announcements I want to jump into, and then we'll dive right into it. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining. If you haven't been to one of our events before, we're the Jersey City Tech Meetup. We host different events in tech every single month, covering all different topics, ranging from social media marketing to podcasting to cannabis and more. So whatever industry you're into, generally we'll cover an event that covers that. So please join the community at JC Tech Meetup on social media or jctechmeetup.com. And we have a lot of awesome events coming up, and we just introduced in-person events again, because for the last year we've been doing virtual, as a lot of people had to adapt to. So last month we did our first in-person event over at Headroom Lounge, and it was a very incredible event, and we had an awesome time, an awesome turnout in a safe way. So we're going to be introducing some more in-person events over the next few months. But yeah, thank you for coming, and welcome to the community if you are new, and welcome back if you've been here before. So generally in the in-person events, I like to have a bit in the beginning where I give everyone a chance to share with the community anything they're working on, whether it's an upcoming project or if they're looking for an intern or a co-founder, anything like that. And since we're doing virtual events now, if you have any news like that you'd like me to share with the community, feel free to just email that to me over at ben@jctechmeetup.com, and I'm happy to share that with everyone, because the community is all about collaboration, and that's what it's about. So not only Jersey City, but also just anyone in the tech industry, entrepreneurial, anything like that. So thank you for being here. And one thing I want to mention is that the chat feature in the bottom, basically we could use that throughout the event as the networking portion of the event. So right away, it's set to just chatting to the panelists. So if you look at the chat at the bottom, you might want to switch that to chat to everyone. So throughout the event, feel free to introduce yourself, be part of the conversation, and just, yeah, let's talk like it's kind of a networking bit of a real in-person event. So cool. And one thing before I jump into this that I want to mention also is there's going to be an opportunity for Q&A at the end. So if you have questions for the panelists, on the bottom there's a Q&A section. So feel free to just throw your questions in there, and we'll have them all answered at the end. As far as our next meetup, it's next month on April 27th. We're featuring Russ Terry, who was with us last August actually, and we had an awesome conversation around LinkedIn and how to optimize it to reach your goals as an entrepreneur or a brand. So we're kind of jumping into that round 2, and we're going to be talking about how to kind of get clients and find the right people for you on LinkedIn, and we're super excited about it. So join us next month. This is going to be another virtual event. So check us out at jctechmeetup.com or just on Instagram, and we'll be announcing more information about the event, and I hope you'll join it. All right, so just a few sponsors I would like to showcase to kick it off. BU Media, this is actually my social media marketing company. If anyone, a brand or entrepreneurs are looking for help with content creation, brand strategy, or social media management, we're here to help. So anyone looking for help with that, or if you know anyone who needs assistance with their social media marketing or marketing in general, feel free to send them to us, and we're happy to be of service. McCarter in English, for anyone looking for legal advice for your startup or company, reach out to me and I can get you in touch with the right people over at McCarter in English. They've been awesome, and they've been on panels in the past, and we're excited to have them as part of the community. NJ Tech Weekly, they cover all of our events. They're such a great support for the New Jersey tech ecosystem, and they have free newsletters. So be sure to sign up and just stay up to date with what's going on. And Mission 50 is an amazing co-working space, and they're offering a free 10-day pass to members of the Tech Meetup community. So if you're interested in any of that, feel free to reach out to me, Ben@JCTechMeetup, and I'll get you in touch with the right people. So without further ado, I would love to pass the torch over to Chelsea Duffy, who has been an awesome collaborator and friend of the Tech Meetup community, and she's going to be facilitating this amazing panel tonight of the incredible women in cannabis. So Chelsea, I'd love to pass it over to you.
Ben, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. So happy to be here. Ladies of the panel, thank you so much for joining us, and our audience members. Obviously, we couldn't do this without you guys. But Ben, thank you so much for sharing your platform for us to have an opportunity to speak, engage with one another. I just think it's incredibly important for women to have an opportunity to share their strengths, their stories, be raw with one another, especially in the cannabis space, because it is quite unusual. You know, things are very top line. Usually you're getting a lot of legal information, a lot of business savvy information, but it's often rare that we as women can use these platforms to be super honest and share part of the struggle that's made the dream possible as well. So a little bit about me, guys. My name's Chelsea Duffy. I reside here in Jersey City. I am a medical patient, as everybody on this panel is, and I am a 2019 medical dispensary applicant, medical retail applicant, and I will also be applying for a recreational dispensary in Jersey City in the coming round. Along with that, I also work here locally with our council members and city officials to educate and responsibly integrate medical and recreational cannabis as it comes. So without further ado, I would love if the rest of the panel could open up their screens, unmute themselves, and just kind of bounce around and introduce yourselves. Kia, I see you sitting there first, so why don't we go ahead and kick it off with you?
Hello, my name is Kia. I am the proud owner of two companies, Salvation Wellness and RX3. One is a services company where we focus on massage, meditation, saunas, and we actually infuse all of them with handcrafted CBD from our proprietary line called RX3, which is CBD infused for now. And that's essentially it. We're vegan, all organic, and really work with the science behind wellness and cannabis.
Very cool. Tara?
I will make one correction out the gate. I am not a medical marijuana patient. And the reason is because I refuse to do it because up until recently, if you were a patient, they would not give you an organ if you were in the hospital. And that is because they had no medical coding to make you anything except a substance abuser. And they would not give an organ to someone who is a substance abuser. So I got that changed in the legislation about a year ago. So now you can get an organ, but I purposefully did not do it on that moral stance. But anyway, so a little bit about me. I have been heavily involved in New Jersey's cannabis legislation. I co-authored the J. Koenig law, and also a lot of that medical bill was moved into S21, which got signed by the governor about 2 weeks ago. I sit on the board of the New Jersey Cannabusiness Association, which is our state's first and largest cannabis trade organization. I taught one of the first cannabis courses and accredited college, Cannabis 101. I invented the first brownie mix for herbal brownies, have the first edibles company in New Jersey, woman-owned. And I have a podcast that talks all about this stuff and more, trailblazing with tiramisu. Oh, and I sell products too. And I just made a dog line, a woman's line. It's all there.
You do all the things.
All the things. All the things.
I love it.
Thank
Shirley?
you.
Hey, Chelsea. Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I'm actually an attorney in this state. I started my career working for government entities and currently actually in private practice where I do class action litigation. So the national opioids case is something I'm working on. It's deeply personal to me, having lost loved ones to opioids. And that's partially why I got so invested in cannabis. A few years ago, I just decided, I had enough of seeing loved ones suffering and not getting relief because the program was restricted about 5-6 years ago. Just got, loosened up recently, thanks to Governor Murphy and a lot of the other activists and efforts that were made. But through that process, I just networked, educated myself. And like you, Chelsea, I applied in the 2019 round for a vertical medical license, still waiting 18 months later to find out I'll also be participating in the adult use round. But having navigated that process and like understanding the challenges, I felt like I had to like do my part and share information and help empower other women and minorities and just anyone in general. And that's what I'm doing now with Blaze Responsibly. And I'm also an executive board member for the Cannabis Law Committee for the State Bar Association. And I was part of the NJCAN 2020 Vote Yes initiative. So just happy to be here.
Amazing. Another do all the things woman. Everybody here on the panel, I have to say, like, we wear so many hats. I mean, it is a women's panel. There are nothing we cannot do. So we'll just start there, but amazing. Ladies of Urban Canico coming in live all together. I love that you guys are all together. That's awesome.
Yes, evening.
Awesome. Angela, Rebecca, Kelly, thank you all for joining in. If you guys want to kick it off and share just a smidgen about yourselves.
So I'm the founder of Urban Canico, and Kelly and Rebecca are my team. Before New Jersey even decided that adult use was going to come through, I decided that I wanted to be in that specific market in New Jersey. So I started building the foundation of what would be a consumption lounge and a delivery license. And in the meanwhile, I learned all about Jay Cognitz's law and becoming a medical patient and kind of submerged myself in the information. And so came to be that everybody jumped on board, and here we are celebrating adult use. So while the Cannabis Regulatory Commission hasn't been formed yet, me and the girls have been putting work into creating content and education and advocacy using our platform on the blog, the website, and Instagram. We host a show twice a week and help to bring brands and networks together, since marketing is hard and everybody's out here trying to get into the cannabis. You know, we're real and raw about our experiences and what's going on behind the scenes. So helping build other women up in the state is what we're all about.
Awesome. And Rebecca and Kelly, part of the team?
Yes, I met Ange about 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
It was
Wow.
going on 5 years this year. We met at the restaurant that Angela was running at the time. She hired me, took me under her wing, and I kind of watched the plan of Urban unfold.
That's a true story. Wow.
And I, obviously being a cannabis user myself and knowing all the benefits personally myself and wanting to just invest myself into all the health benefits and pros of the plant, I jumped on board with Ange and have been supporting her every step of the way. And it brought me to meet Rebecca and so many amazing people in the industry. And I honestly am so happy where I am today and can't wait to see where the future takes me.
Woo. Hear it. Kelly? I'm sorry, Rebecca?
That's okay. So I met Kelly and Ange about 2 years ago now, and I actually found them at a Infuse event in Brooklyn, where I went searching for the cannabis. And as you know, Angela was doing like infused pizzas and stuff like that, since they had the pizza background. So I stumbled upon them in Brooklyn, and from there I just
we had to have her as part of the team. I'm like, yo, what's up? You're our people. Patients are gonna love you. You gotta be ours.
They helped me get my medical card. I learned all about the industry, and I would just read and read and read. And then my boyfriend is really good with videos and editing and stuff like that. So I was like, let's kind of make a page and educate people based on what I've learned through them, through books, through that kind of thing. And we made it kind of fun, and we've all collabed and made it work. East Coast, loud and proud, Jersey.
Very cool. Very cool. And, one thing I love so much about this industry is I find that a lot of our connections and future business partners literally happen so organically at the networking events. When we used to have them in person, a majority, all but one of my business partners all came from bumping elbows at the previous Green Rush events, actually, which JC Tech used to host in the flesh. That was very cool.
That's how we met you, Chelsea, at your event in Jersey City last year.
Honestly, that's how I pretty much met everybody here. And if we recall, the Canna Gather events as well from back in the day. But awesome. Thank you, ladies, so much for introducing yourselves. And again, thank you for being here. One thing I love so much about this particular panel is that we really do run the gamut in terms of topics, in terms of vulnerability, in terms of what we're talking about. I mean, I think that's so cool. So to kick it off, Shirali, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on, legalization legislation-wise for our audience members? Catch us up to speed a little bit.
Yeah, sure. The headlines are that, New Jersey just legalized adult use. Even though we voted in November, it took about 3 months for our state to get it together because supposedly they had issues with the addressing underage penalties for minors, which I think should have been brought up a while ago. So I wonder why they waited so long to, do that bit. But what finally ended up happening is that there's a tiered structure. So anyone under 18, you get a warning, first warning, second warning, third warning if you're caught with consuming cannabis. And then if you're 18 to 20, you face a fine. So I think it's good that they're removing the court procedure, formal proceeding out of it. But they just recently added another piece that says for minors, if they don't agree to bring their parents' information, or provide their parents' information, law enforcement can then take them into custody. So they added that little back in there because they need to appease a lot of different sides in New Jersey. And that's kind of what we've seen happen with the legalization bill. So what the legalization bill did was just set the framework. It just establishes that we've decided as a state to legalize cannabis for adult use, but what the future will look like is going to be really dictated by this incoming Cannabis Regulatory Commission. But just key takeaways, I think, are, what S21, which is the legalization bill, does is set out the 6 licensing categories, because that's what everyone's really excited about, even though the ancillary market is so much more sexier, in my opinion, and there's so many more opportunities for people. And it's less barriers, right, for women, minorities, anybody, because the costs are less because you're not applying for a license. But the traditional 6 licenses are, delivery, or actually not traditional, cultivation, manufacturing, retail. Delivery is what they added, and then wholesale and distribution. So it's kind of similar to what happens in the alcohol industry. You have distributor licenses and things like that, which is interesting. They also put micro licenses in there. So that's a step forward. We don't have a social equity applicant status, but what a micro license is supposed to be carved out for people who meet certain criteria. So you have to have less than a certain income, and you have to meet other things. The problem, though, is that you have to be 100% owner as a New Jersey resident, which is great. It looks great on paper, but think about getting equity and funding yourself. If you're 100% New Jersey ownership as an entity, how are you going to get outside investors from out of state? How are you going to get that kind of experience on the table without offering equity? It's really challenging, and it's a shame. But I'm here to say that I'm confident that this bill is going to change, because that's how the law works. It gets amended. And the CRC, when they dictate the rules and regulations, that's going to flesh out a lot of the granular details and requirements. And so it's going to be a lot of back and forth. So my main advice for people, because I've had so many calls and people wanting to sign up and hire me XYZ, and I'm I'd rather you wait a little bit. I want to see what will happen, because we're still a year at least away from applications. Despite what people think that there's a 180-day turnaround, that does not mean anything, because that 180-day deadline was in the prior medical bill that Tara probably is familiar with. And that bill said when the CRC gets formed. Guess what? That was 2 years ago. So we're still not there.
Hello.
So it's just a waiting game. So for people who are, wondering when can I get ready for applications, just start doing your homework right now, right? And getting ready, but don't spend money right now, please.
Totally agree. And a great explanation. Thank you so much. I remember stepping into this industry about 5 years ago, about 4 years ago. And I remember thinking, oh, we're around the corner. It's going to happen for New Jersey. It's coming. And somebody said to me, Chelsea, it's going to be a minimum of 5 years before you're walking into a recreational dispensary in this state. You're out of your mind. And I was like, that's absurd. What do you mean? And here we are. Of course we're a year away, of course. But thank you for that. And kind of staying within that legal realm. And honestly, I'm so intrigued by this, Tara. We have to go back to the fact that you have never been a patient. Kudos to you. That is super cool. But on the contrary, you've had a lot of involvement in writing some of the medical bills and the 2019 updates. So tell us a little bit about One, the decision, love that so much, and two, your involvement.
Sure. So, Charlie, I will add one thing. So the micro license I wrote in a Starbucks in East Brunswick, and it was a lot of a compromise though. So it was a lot of back and forth. I certainly did not get everything I wanted, and I'm still fighting, dude. You know, we have these cleanup bills going around. There's a lot of changes I still want to see, and I could talk about that. But as far as the 100% ownership, why that was put in there, and that was written in 2018, was because our current 12 licensees, one of them started in state but got bought out, but especially the last round, the last 6, no one lives in New Jersey. So what we were really seeing was people, if we made these licenses too accessible, all these people scrambling from licenses, seeing Jersey as this little golden ticket, we're going to start scooping up these micros. And it looks like they're going to be unlimited, but we didn't know that at the time. So the way we could really ensure this was, you know, for Jersey, by Jersey, all that, was to say, you know what, it has to be they're not a high startup cost. So it's not like you're raising millions of dollars. So it was, you know, it was a lot of compromise, but that's how we thought we could keep it in state and get them to the right people. But
can I ask a question real quick? Do you think that 100% will change in the future, or do you think that's like cemented?
So something I was talking about the other day that I would prioritize changing over the 100% ownership is 2 things. One of them is that they have now in a subsequent bill put that investors can invest up to 40% into a micro, even if they invest in a class 1, 2, 3, whatever license. But they have not made it reciprocal. So if I'm a micro license applicant, I cannot own a fraction of a percent, even if I come in a license, if on someone's board, if I work somewhere, if I've been given shares in the company, any of that locks me out of a micro license 100%. So I see that as more of a priority change, because that is really putting, you know, it's not equitable. They're predatory on us and we get nothing from their half. So that's the first thing I'd really want to see change. And the second would be, what's the second thing I want to see change? I forget, but it'll come to me in a moment. But I will say with the, I know what it is. The bordering towns. This was something I fought for while we were writing it and lost on. That is, I'm from South River. South River is bordered by 2 towns, East Brunswick and Sayreville, where Angela's from actually. And the, all 3 of them are very unfriendly at cannabis. So then you take something like Edison, which is bordered by 13 towns, and it's an entirely different thing. So then we said, and so I really want to see that get changed, because that means some people, just based on the town they grew up in or live in, are locked out of a license again. So, you know, if we were to put these things in a priority order, absolutely, it would be great to maybe have some flexibility on where you can get your funding from. But these 2 things are locking people out entirely. So I would prioritize changing them.
100% agree, because that bill is terrible that they put out with the investment fund. I'm not going to get into it, but it is predatory.
So I would say how this got started was I was testifying for Assemblyman Danielson. And at the time, there was no equity pieces pretty much at all. So when I testified, he said, I'd like to have you tell me how you can have one of these facilities with less than $1 million. And I had 4 minutes to speak. And I said, if you give me more than 4 minutes, I'll show you. And he actually took me up on that. And I went down to the office and I brought what was the current medical bill at the time. It was, you know, many years ago at this point, written. And I came with a highlighter all prepared. And I said, look, this is women and minorities and this and veterans. And he took a pen and wrote across that this bill discriminates against women and minorities. And that was the start of it. And I found someone who cared about helping small business, helping the little guy. And we got the set asides in there. We got the creation of the micro license in there. And that's really what I fought for and continue to fight for, because the comparison I make is, if we don't have these little craft licenses, these micro licenses, we're only going to have corporations. And that's what we have right now. We have Olive Garden and Applebee's, you know, so unless we give it to people who are passionate, small business, New Jersey people who know the culture and the market, then we're just going to have chain restaurant equivalents, and we'll never have that great little Italian restaurant down the street. So anyway, that's what I've been working on.
Love to hear it. And I completely agree, Tara.
Thank
I'm
you.
here, the mom and pops all the way. And speaking of, you know, businesses, this is a little plug for Tara. This is her Blazin' Bakery. Anybody who's interested, it's like the easiest edible little baby kit ever in the world, and I love it so much. but we'll talk about this a little bit later too, Tara.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Love it.
So another cool thing that you both have now touched on is the ancillary businesses. Tara, you have a ton of ancillary businesses alongside and within cannabis, and same with you, Shirali, with Blaze Responsibly and other things that are going on. But I would like to hear from Kia, because she is not exactly in the plant touching space, but works very kind of intimately with both CBD and cannabis, and has had a lengthy her story, if you will. So Kia, talk to us a little bit about what people can do to break into the space, like, for instance, wellness, which, by the way, got to go to Salvation Wellness, the new location downtown. Absolutely beautiful. Congratulations. Really, really.
Thank you so much. So I am like the little Italian, restaurant, if you will. I think one of the interesting things, like if I think about, I'm kind of in the manufacturing space, but also in an ancillary care space, which is utilizing products, right? And one of the interesting things about that is getting really creative around what someone might need and listening deeply to with the consumers. Because one of the interesting things, everyone really knows me and my husband in the cannabis CBD realm. And so people come in to buy their products, and they're like, oh, are you going to put THC in this? Like, how come you guys don't have cannabis in this yet? And I'm like, oh, because we are way, way far away from when that's going to happen. And if that happens, people are like, oh, so did you apply for your license yet? Oh, we're just going to happen. I'm kind of like, guys, you have to remember, this is kind of like alcohol. Like, not every store can just go and you can't just buy booze at the Dunkin' Donuts. You know what I mean? Like, it's a regulated thing. It's not just, cupcakes. So it's something that a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about. And one of the interesting things for me is I actually sit on the state board for the American Massage Therapy Association. And something that I work a lot with our board on is utilizing something like CBD, which they still consider nationally an illegal substance. So people, there's a lot of conversation in the massage realm on whether or not the use of these products will actually affect your licensure or your insurance as a service provider. And what I find is that, talking to people, educating them, showing even just research, legislation, what it looks like statewide, right? Because I sit on the state board, what it looks like to be in a state where this is something that you can use freely. And also looking at state by state versus national policy and how to navigate those two things as a service provider. And then on the other side of it, because I do a lot of education for service providers, talking to them about what does it look like? How do you do it responsibly? Why might you use one thing versus another? One of the things I think we still see a lot of is people just kind of coming in being like, yeah, I heard CBD is great. I tried this thing that I bought at CVS. It didn't work. And so it's not for me, which is insane to me. And the same with THC, oh, hey, I got really, really stoned off of this cookie one time. And then I had, all these different massive panic attacks, and it's not for me. Or, yeah, I can't believe this is getting legal, or I can't wait, and it's just recreational, and it's just to have fun. And so, again, I think being in an ancillary field to cannabis in general, and also being in the manufacturing side of cannabis, is a really unique space to be in, because you really get to see how few of the general population have a working knowledge base. And I think that's going to be something I'm really, really interested in. I'm already developing out some programming to train massage therapists in cannabis, what that looks like, what that will look like, and actually creating CEUs, continuing education units, for that field. And then also just talking to regular people who maybe they don't want to take something internally, but they are okay with something topically. And what does THC do when you apply it to your skin versus eating it or smoking it, and why is it affecting your body differently? So I think thinking creatively is the main thing about getting into the field. I think also just it's the whole concept of giver's gain. So the more I give to my community, the more they become open to exploring that space with me in the places where I think it's really beneficial. We take a portion of our proceeds and actually donate it and create what's called what we're calling a community wellness program. And we actually work with a pregnant teens shelter here in Jersey City. We also work in getting healthcare to underserved women populations. And what's really cool is so we're taking some of this money that we're making, we're reinvesting it into the populations that are usually decimated by the policies and legislation around cannabis to begin with, and actually utilizing some of those avenues to start conversations to try to actually educate those people who are in those populations that have been affected. So I think that answers your question.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you nailed it. It's all about the creativity piece, and seriously, what a way to use your business knowledge to strategize, to actually go full circle and use that money and give back. That's very meta to me, and I love any opportunity to use that word. So very cool. But no, the answer is creativity. It's always creativity, especially in regards to ancillary, and sky's the limit. I mean, oh my gosh. And so speaking, and thank you very much for that, Kia. And speaking of creativity, I think we already know where we're going with this, with our Urban Canna Co. crew. For those of you who don't know these ladies, they're super fun to follow on Instagram. They have, in terms of educating and things like that, they're very approachable with their energy on both the Robe Stoner and Urban Canna Co. or Urban Live. And, I love you guys because you're always doing something cool. So tell us a little about, Urban Live, the Robe Stoner, and, the creativity and the content piece within the industry. That's tying it back into tech a little bit, if you will. Talk about some content curation and things of that nature in this space.
So originally we weren't even going for like an Instagram content creation influencer persona, if you'll so to speak. For a while I was hosting patient events, and we were kind of creating those experiences in real life for people, which we did for quite some time. And for the time being, those events are on hold, but they will be coming back to life. But we missed being able to bring people together and, kind of connect with people and show them a life of cannabis. So we decided that the best way to do that, especially with COVID hitting and everybody being at home, would be through the gram. Everybody's on the gram, right?
Right.
And
network.
Exactly. Being relatable and approachable and being real, because, as much as, we're having fun making the videos, we are patients and we are medicating, and everybody uses cannabis for a different reason. And there's so many layers to that onion, and bringing that to life. So whoever was watching any of the pages could relate. Like, I'm a mom, and being a canna mom comes with a whole lot of heat. Right? Wine moms are welcomed with open arms. Hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, but heaven forbid, I got my joint shirt on and I'm rolling up to school pickup, coming in loud because I was home alone medicating, and that's totally cool. Right? And you're like, who's this broad?
You got some brows that are
frowned upon.
But that's who I am. And even within my family, coming from a very old school Italian background, I've chose to stand behind my urban beliefs, as we've called them. And, it's cost me family, friends, my marriage. And for me and everything that I've been through, being real and being able to share that, because there are so many women that suffer in silence, is everything. And that's why we do what we do. So yeah, we make it look fun, and Rebecca's boyfriend is super talented, and we bring it all to life, and we like to have those laughs.
Right.
But that's why we also have
show the
posts,
real life, things.
that are real and things that are going in our life that are personal and traumatic, because people are using cannabis for all different kinds of things.
Right.
So why we want to laugh. It's all about health and wellness and how you can integrate it into your everyday life.
Right.
So
Kelly and I both have lost our dads, so I feel like me kind of, well, just in general, having that page to connect with other people and use cannabis as a source for or resource for traumatic loss or anything like that has been a great tool. And the amount of networking and connecting I've done within the community to reach out and help other people has been amazing, because when you're going through something traumatic like that, you don't want to be alone through it at all. So reaching out through, even if it's through just the internet, it makes a world of a difference for somebody else who could be going through something alone.
Ange brought Rebecca and I together. She introduced the two of us, but it was a cannabis event that actually Rebecca and I attended, just the two of us together, where we genuinely got to know each other and connect for the first time. And that's where we found out that we both had lost our dads at different points in our lives. But it, like she just said, it's very warming to know that I have somebody so close to me who has been through maybe not the exact same situation, but knows the same kind of pain and loss that I've experienced from such a young age. And like she said, cannabis helps aid that, and now we can use that together. And I have my three buddies, my two buddies, I can't count. There's
three buddies.
We're good.
Well, I love that. I think, the vulnerability piece in all of this kind of can get lost in translation as we're all, attacking the industry and taking it by storm, and we're all super passionate about it. But, the trauma piece and the healing piece, like that's all so important. And that's one thing that I've really seen surface quite a bit over 2020. To your point, Angela, you guys had to reinvent your approach in terms of educating and connecting with your audience and things of that nature. So, you went on camera and that was your thing. But throughout 2020, I've also seen the conversation of trauma around cannabis. It's really become so interesting, and I'm so glad that the doors specifically for women have opened, really women and minorities have opened up in regards to sharing their trauma and sharing the struggles that we all face just as humans, and how we can heal and cope. One thing you said, Angela, that I love, you said urban beliefs. That's so clever. I wonder if that's trademarked.
Girl, that's my thing. Nobody steal that. Okay, I've been hashtagging that shit forever.
Well, you're already working with my trademark lawyer, so you're good.
But it's true. It's that plant holistic, if I decided to take a different approach, and when I went to the doctor, if I wasn't willing to have a different conversation, because in the beginning, before I realized that I was medicating, I thought that I was just getting high, and being high made me happy. And I went to work, and it was like this Band-Aid. And moving to New Jersey, and thanks to Tara and all her work in that East Brunswick Starbucks, get it, sis. Okay, I read that bill and was like, wow, this is a medicine. All right, wait, hang on. Now I have to reevaluate this, and really looking at it and looking at the science and being like, wait, there's an endocannabinoid system, and I have one of those. People think you're crazy when you even just say something like that, but that's a basic science fact that opens up a door of conversation for anybody and everybody. So those are urban beliefs, and it's really changed my life, because I could be on pills for days and my life would be a lot shorter than it is. And I'm choosing a different route, and it's alternative, and maybe some people don't agree with it, but I think in 10 years, I'm going to be the one that's ultimately happy and living my best life.
Instead of a one bottle or pill bottle.
You know what I mean? Because I believed in the difference. So breaking the stigma and, being able to do that, I think is everything. And all the women on this panel doing all the things that they're doing, that's what's up.
For sure. So I'm going to take that urban
I'm sorry.
and I'm going to run with it.
Chelsea, I'm sorry. They're freaking amazing. I don't know why I didn't meet you guys before, but I'm definitely going to follow you, and I want to stay in touch because I love the energy that you guys have, and I'm completely about that with the natural over pills, because what the opioid industry did was have a slogan, right? Start them high and hope they don't die. That's the complete opposite of what cannabis does.
Yeah,
start
100%.
low and titrate up. So I get it, and just thank you. I had to like say that because they're
No, thank you, girl.
But
Teamwork.
the moment I went to a health professional after I lost my dad, they immediately tried to give me anxiety pills, and I wanted that natural option. And I finally found a psychologist that would prescribe that and help with that. So that was a great thing that came into play.
Unfortunately, I don't mean to get too raw, but if it wasn't for prescription medication, I would still have my dad here today. And that is a big reason as to why I advocate the way I do for cannabis. People need to realize, get over that stigma, because those pills that people are popping that you're shoving down everybody's throats, they're the problem. Open your mind.
exactly.
I have goosebumps. I'm very glad that you were comfortable enough to even say that, because that's the truth.
So proud, Cal.
But again, I want to write off this urban belief, and I'm going to jump over to Shirali just in regards to urban law, urban belief within urban law. I want to hear from you, within Blaze Responsibly, a lot like our Urban Canico girls, you've created a new educational platform. I go to Blaze Responsibly, honestly, to get a lot of my top line information. I'm trying to get a license, but sometimes the information is coming in so fast and you need these outlets. But Shirley, why is it so important to have this, real focus on women and minorities within the space? 30% of licenses are to be allocated to such. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for following my page, because I'm really trying to give other attorneys a run for their money by sharing free
We're
information.
gonna hire you for urban. Let's go.
You definitely do already, Charlie.
Thank you. I'm trying, because it's like, it's shameful. Like when you see women and minorities wanting to apply and they're coming to me saying they got quoted $150,000 for a micro license application. And it's like, it's really important for me to put this free information out there, like steps, like basic steps on, how to get started, just so you're at least prepared and like equipped to even have the conversations. Otherwise, you're going to get taken for a ride. Right. And I just feel like as women in general, we always like to downplay our accomplishments and what we're doing. And I realized, like, enough of doing that, because men have no problem like whipping it out, for lack of better words. Right. And so
I love her.
I was like, you know what, now enough. Like, I'm going to and I took myself off of social media actually for 2 years, because it was affecting me. Like, I didn't like what I was seeing. I couldn't filter out what was real. And I was like, you know what, like, it just affected my mental health. But then I realized, like, in those past 2 years, how important that tool became, social media and like branding, marketing. And so I was like, you know what, I'll just start my platform like on Instagram for free and like just start, creating information. And then ultimately the goal is to put together like workshops for women, minorities, specifically people who qualify, how to fill out an application, like basic stuff. And then they can go and hire, like, for little things that they might need. But it takes away such like a high cost, because that's the main issue for people to even apply in the first place, getting ripped off. And so I feel like, because 30% of licenses are supposed to be allocated, how do we make sure not only do you win, but you keep those licenses? Because in other states, what happens is, yeah, you get awarded the license, but you don't have the income or the means to keep it afloat, right? Maybe you don't have the right team or the execution strategy, or you're going to get bought out by someone bigger. Instead of holding on to your ownership, your equity, or maybe your goal is to get bought out. But if it's not, if it's to stay in the long haul and like make something out of yourself, create generational wealth, then you need to do it right. And I always tell people, you don't need to be the first to do it. You just need to be the best. So like, don't get over the fact that there's only one licensing round. There's going to be so many more opportunities. And the first round is probably going to be the most competitive. So if I can share any advice with anybody, just take your time. Like, you don't need to rush to do this, because it's so expensive. And I don't want to see anybody lose out on like resources like we already have in the 2019 round. I know women who, like a breast cancer survivor, fundraise her own money, and then she's out, she's disqualified because she didn't have like one component, and that's terrible. These are the people that deserve to be in the industry. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cindy Ortiz, she got robbed.
yeah, she did.
She did. Chelsea, can I be a dark cloud for a moment?
I would love for you to.
All right. I'm so good at it. Now I really want to say I love all the woman empowerment and the feel good and all that, but sometimes I feel like it's just the the green rush gets too lovely a sheen put on it, and people aren't really prepared for how like bloody and awful this industry can be especially to women. And I mean, I've been doing this since 2009. When I started, I would go to conventions and there'd be 150 booths and I would be the only female. And people would come up to me and they would look through me to the guy who I would have maybe unloading my boxes. And they would just think I'm a booth girl and be like, can I speak to your manager? And when I told them it was almost like this, like, didn't register. So, I mean, this industry was so heavily male, and we're coming out of that now, which is great. But we have to understand that there's still a lot of bias there. And I've never found this to be more true until the past few years when I really started trying to raise money for various ventures. And I had one person I was pitching up in a conference room. I in a suit, rented out a room. And he said, wow, look at you. I thought you were just some little brownie girl, barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen.
No.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I had someone else yell out nice rack during the presentation. Yeah.
No.
Yes. He said, you're really popping out there, when I was in a Blazing Bakery shirt. And finally, I had an investor broker take me to a meeting. He said it went really well. He's like, oh, I'm so glad that went well. I kept saying, you're going to love this person. They're great. Because he said, I knew if I told him that you were a woman, he would have never taken the meeting.
Oh my God. Amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, discrimination for women in the industry is still real. I mean, we can all the yay, rah, and it's there, but you got to be ready to recognize that it's just not perfect yet. We got some work to do.
And I actually want to jump on that bandwagon for a second, because I've had 2 experiences now where, because we have IP in our products, right? And so that's where a lot of the money is in terms of formulation. And because we make products that, there's so much white labeling that goes on. And so we've actually had conversations with investors and even in people wanting to buy out a certain product, things like that. And, we get down to essentially signing an agreement, and they're trying to change stuff up where they want to give me 20% of essentially something that I own currently 100%. And instead of just saying, okay, well, we're going to give you, essentially I'm like, here are the terms. These are really standard terms. They're really simple. And then they just start to try to whittle it back, even to the point that my husband has started conversations, and then I come in and they're like, oh, well, what about this? And we're going to take this out. And now we want this instead. And it's clearly because I'm a woman. I cannot tell you, as a massage therapist, the same with Tara, just like the amount of conversations I've had, like, oh, well, is that a happy ending come with that? It's just insane. And you're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, yeah, right. Okay. But a number of times where they think they can take advantage simply because, it's 5 or 6 men and me and a lawyer who I always hire women. I hire women of color, and that is what I do. I hire women that have been in jail for, essentially for cannabis. If someone has, to me, that's street cred. That's like, yep, you've been in the industry long enough to have been arrested for it. So
I'm saying,
you clearly know what you're doing. But it's amazing. You see it, and they're like, oh, haha, little woman, And but it's true. Being in the industry and actually having IP, having something that people want to buy, that people want to invest in and take money from. They want something from Tara. They want something from me, and then they think that they can take away because we're nice, big-breasted women.
Right. And so, yeah, there you go. So in just a minute, I'm going to bounce over to the trio over there in a sec. But Tara, just while we're on the topic, and especially because, if you Google your name, it is a known fact that you will see that this woman has very literally broken the glass ceiling. Okay. So, and I want to talk about again, just keeping it super raw. You know, getting funding, equity, all of these things. I mean, talk about that if you can.
Well, the saddest statistic, I'll start with that. 97% of venture capital money goes to males. So it's a very small pool we're fighting for. And the word fighting it, we actually do almost, because women, we get our set asides, we get our quota, and we only get so much of the pie, and then they pit us against each other.
Right.
So it's really frustrating. I feel like it's a lot better than it was, but I wish I could say I cracked that code. But I would say things like this are useful, but I want to get rid of the qualifiers, you know. Even with my podcast, like I was just having guests organically, and then it almost starts to feel contrived of, am I having enough women? Am I having enough minorities? And you start to think, and then you start looking to have more women, and there's not maybe as many in the industry, or it's not as balanced. And it becomes frustrating. But also, when I do women's panels, I always say, you know, I hope we get to the point where we don't need a women's panel. You know, it's like, especially it's like, why are we on the side stage being like, hey, women matter too? You know, it's like, all right. And same thing with, the minority panel. Let's hear what they have to say. It's like, why do we have to be the other? How about we just put us all on the main stage and treat us all like equals? So the fact that we still need these qualifiers to have our voices heard and these set asides to be granted things means there's just a lot of work to do. And I think we'll get there. It's really, you know, you can see the tide turning. Sometimes I think people misinterpret it. And this actually goes back to almost like the micro license thing, like why 100% ownership there? You know, why are we doing certain things with the set asides? It's because we just can't get this done any other way right now. But I don't know. It's very frustrating that we have to, so it needs to be there.
Yeah, right. And it is, to your point, it's an ever evolving situation. And, you know, I'm very hopeful, but again, this is going to be something that we're going to have to continue to claw and fight for many years to come. So we're just scratching the surface, even though it feels like we're just digging away. So staying within this super raw, kind of almost stigma-like topic, I want to jump over to Angela specifically because, you know, your story, her story is very authentic. It's very real, very vulnerable. And it's one of the reasons I started following you so actively. So share, one of the things that you are known for in the community is breaking that mom stigma, the mom that, you know, medicates with cannabis. Can you tell us a little bit? One, I know that's been incredibly difficult for you as a mother. And two, just as a woman.
Yeah, it's been a ride. In, you know, when I first decided to be very open about my cannabis use and being a patient, my boys were still very little. And at that point, I don't even think I was pregnant with baby number 2 yet. And my first pregnancy, I was super blessed. I was like, I can do this 100 times, right? No problem. No issues. And then baby number 2 came and I was super sick, running a restaurant, had a toddler. And I was very committed at that point to my urban beliefs and choosing urban. And I had started, like, you know, building the foundation of my future. So when they had offered me prescription medicine for my morning sickness, I had an issue with it. And I never, you know, thought that that would be a thing. You know, for me, I was like, okay, when you're pregnant, you know, that's it. It's wrong. But I'm like, but it's really not. Because if I already choose this in my everyday life, then this is already what's safe for my baby. So against my doctor's wishes, and I wasn't something I was like, hey, guess what? This is what I'm using to get by. I medicated every day. In the morning and at night. And if I didn't, I wasn't going to eat. My first pregnancy, I gained 80 pounds. I barely gained 23 the second time around. It was a complete different experience for me altogether. And I think without cannabis, I potentially wouldn't have made it through.
Wow.
So then, you know, now here we are 2 years later. He's like the happiest, healthiest little dude, growing right on point with his big brother. You know what I mean?
The urban mascot.
For real, he's the urban mascot. My mom runs on greens. for me in real life, I'm seeing that I know that I made the right choice. And I'm happy that I wasn't put in that position my first pregnancy, but it was honest and it was something that I wanted to be real about. And not only, for being the neighborhood mom, I think I'm the only mom that's loud and proud about smoking pot. I smoke pot in my backyard and people know about it. And, I'm that house that at 7 o'clock during COVID, when everybody was banging their pots and pans, they sent their kids to my house and we all partied and, did it together. I brought an entire neighborhood of 12 houses together that didn't know anybody pre-COVID. And it was magical, right? And unfortunately, some things went down during COVID and I'm going up against DIFUS right now because of cannabis. And if I wasn't educated and knew about my card, I could have had my kids taken away.
True. Yeah.
And now what if I was just scared? What if I didn't know my rights? What if I didn't, submerge myself into making cannabis my life and I was just a regular mom? I could be in a much different situation than I am now. And I actually educated a DCP worker and her supervisor on my rights and Kuma law and where I can medicate in my house and what's legal and what's not. And I was proud of that and stood up for that. That's some scary shit. That's some scary shit. When somebody comes into your house and says that they're going to take your kids and you're like, no, actually, you're going to take me and you're going to sit down and I'm going to school you. And this is how it's going to go.
And I don't think that people even realize, women even realize, if they educate themselves, they have the power to have that conversation.
100%. And that's another reason why we run the page. That's why we're loud about what we do, about getting your card. Because as exciting as legalization is, being a medical patient comes with rights, parental rights, employment rights, and there are things and experiences that are going to be much different for a patient than somebody that's using cannabis for fun, right? So if I didn't have that card and I didn't have those rights, it would have been a much different situation. So it is important to know that you have those rights and you should stand up for yourself and not, let someone who isn't educated, whether it be law enforcement or somebody that's coming to your house from, DCP or whatever situation that you may be in, be able to stand up for yourself. And that's why, we're doing what we're doing. And as women, we're being loud in the community. So we have those opportunities to have a voice. So I most certainly am not going to be quiet about it.
As you shouldn't. I mean, like, you just said things that I wasn't even aware of. And I thought I, knew quite a bit in the industry. So even when you're, educating every single day, there are still tidbits, unless it applies specifically to you. Sometimes until you live it, you have no idea.
There's so many more things that we all can learn, because, I'm only learning into certain specifics of cannabis, especially now building a business. So in law and topicals and CBD, in healthcare, actual wellness and doctor and training, there's all so much that goes into it, but all of those layers of the onion, like I say, are super, super important. And that's why there's so many pieces in the game. And if somebody's interested and wants to change their life and change their field of career, there's something in cannabis for everyone. And to wake up in the morning and love what you do, I know that sounds stupid and people are like, no, it's not real, but it really is. To wake up in the morning and be like, damn, this is what's up, man.
It's absolutely well said. 100%. And to that effect, whatever you're doing, almost like down to sanitation, your skill set is transitional into the industry. There is a segment with a door open and waiting for you. And if it's not already open and if it's not already waiting, this is your message from the universe to open it. Do it yourself. Now's the opportunity. Really, truly, male, female, it doesn't matter. If you want to see something happen in this industry, take it, do it, call it yours, and sky's the limit again. So staying within that kind of what I've learned so far and educating myself, before we transition into the Q&A, ladies, if we could just go down the line and, it's a silly question, but it's a good takeaway. It's fair. And we'll start with you, Kia. But if there was maybe one thing that you had known very specifically as a woman, as you jumped foot into this industry, in any capacity, ancillary or plant touching, whatever it might be, what would it be? What would you tell yourself? And what would you advise to, a female audience member?
Oh, shit.
Loaded question. That's my bad.
by a very supportive bra. No. I would say, like, unfortunately, you have to just be way more prepared. You kind of have to outsmart, almost smart shame them. Like, you're like, all right, you think you know what you're going to talk about, but I know the number is better than you. Be, heavily prepared. Be able to, and like have them at your fingertips. Because you're kind of going into battle pretty much. Especially if you're casual and kind of ebullient like everyone here. Making sure that you can school pretty much anyone in your industry about what you're doing. I would say that's like, just be fucking prepared. Like, do your homework every day.
I'd agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
Tara?
Absolutely. You should be able to make grown men cry for sure.
Yes.
What she said.
What she said. No, I would say the next thing is to really be able to adjust your sales kind of on the fly, because this industry is something where regulations change constantly. So especially financially, if you get too committed to one idea or one path, and just to be flexible with adversity too. Like, over the years, I think I've had my social media shut down 6 times. I've been escorted out of a bank, had my funds frozen. I'm blocked by 5 payment processors. One time the week before Black Friday, I think I got blocked on Thanksgiving. So it's like, you just keep getting these hits and these blows through the years. I had to change the brand name one time. So really just staying flexible and accepting that it's going to be hard and you're going to run into roadblocks. This industry has a lot more regulations than a normal one. And yeah. And I just want to throw out there too, if anyone is applying, I do consulting, so I can help you guys with an app if anyone wants that. And I'm also really overwhelmed right now. So if anyone is looking for work, I'm hiring for assistants, interns, that kind of thing.
Nice. Good to know.
Yes.
Love that. And I really love that you had mentioned, take adversity with stride. The game changes all the time, and the game's not even started yet, so absolutely agree. And I've already experienced a number of the things that you just mentioned just through the application process. It's out of control. I mean, you want to meet with a bank, have fun. But well said, for sure. Yeah, and ladies, please plug yourselves. Like, let's do this thing. Shirali?
Yeah, thanks. Definitely agree with what was said by both ladies. And to Tara's point too, if you can, to the extent possible, have a reserve account of money set aside, because no matter what, it'll help you. Just regulations change, packaging requirements can change. You just need to have cash on hand for whatever comes your way. And just a tip I would give myself going back, just go with your gut, your intuition. When you meet somebody, you get that gut feeling if it's a good one or a bad one. And if it's a bad one, don't even entertain, just walk away, because there's plenty of sharks in this industry, like we mentioned before, and plenty of people who are willing to take you for a ride. So just be careful. I'm also an attorney in the space. I do applications. I've done my own. So I'm here. Use me as a resource as well.
Beautiful. All right, ladies. Kelly, Rebecca, Angela, what's the last takeaways over there?
Build a team to last.
Yes.
Okay. Kelly's been with me for 5 years. Rebecca's been with me for 2. You can't do it alone in this space. And especially if men are going to come at you, right? Days are hard. Nights are longer. You got to put in the hours. It looks fun, but there's a lot of things that go behind the scenes that aren't glamorous, and you can't do it alone. So build a team that you love and trust and you want to spend a lot of time with. Because if you're going to get to the top, you're going to need some people to lift you up and to work hard with you. And that's the truth.
Absolutely. I could not agree more with that. Build the last
so many moms, she really loves me.
And I want it to be said that I think a lot of times, and especially with, and correct me if I'm wrong, but with ladies, we tend to do what's a little bit more comfortable in terms of our relationship making, and we'll lean on like-minded women. and kind of like play it safe. And so where I'm going with that is sometimes we pick to work with just our friends, the people we already know within our circle. But the truth of the matter is you really need to take the blinders off and be super open, because a lot of times, you know, your best friends don't even make the best business partners. I hate to be, you know, the dark cloud, call me Tara Jr., but like, it's just the truth.
True.
You know,
But you
Like-
can build partners that'll become your best friends.
Right.
If you
Oh,
do them right.
sisters and the whole bit, of course. And like, that's another part of the beauty in all of this. You know what I mean?
The best from Urban was there is no reward without that risk.
Heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first.
Part of the urban belief system. Am I
That's
right?
at the top of the list for 20 and 21.
Yeah.
Not 20.
And, I love it. I love it. So just one more thing. I just think it's important that we kind of bring it back to the tech-centric focus that this platform really provides. You know, again, Ben, thank you so much for even opening up a special space for us to talk about cannabis. Hopefully we will soon have a JC Cannabis meetup, and it won't, no offense to JC Tech, but you know, it would be great to stand alone one day. As Tara said, just have our own situation going without jumping on somebody else's back. But it is so appreciated. So with that, I just want to bounce back into the tech world just for right before we go over to the Q&A. And I think, Tara, if you don't mind, can you maybe speak to what Cannatech looks like? I know you've been in and out of that conversation just simply based on Trailblazing, your podcast. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I have like a mild tech background. I did web design for about a decade. So that was my life before cannabis, and built a few hundred websites.
Wow.
But yeah. So anyway, we're really lacking in tech right now in cannabis, you know, and part of it is because we have so many small companies, we don't always have the resources to really put into that. But something that's really sorely lacking, especially everyone on this panel is a medical patient, is security with personal information. And that is, someone told me a horror story recently. They were in a New Jersey dispensary, and the woman in front of them had put in her driver's license, social security number, all her information, her ailment, what was wrong with her. And the employee of the dispensary, I guess, didn't hit enter to enter the information or whatever, and just passed it to the next person. And he just saw this woman's like information. So like, we're not subject to HIPAA, but we're not even coming close to HIPAA. So patient protection, patient privacy and data is huge right now. And then also seed to sale tracking is something where we're really lacking. And I would love to see more people exploring this and using blockchain technology as a solution. Because right now what we have is these RFID tags, and they're, you know, on a plant. And when you're selling things, you know, pounds of dried cannabis, a 50-cent RFID tag is not the end of the world. You know, when you're selling a $5 brownie, 50 cents is 10% of your product costs. So, and even at that, they're really not effective. Things go out the back door so easily. So we really need to be, and everyone has different software. It's just, you know, we're not integrating well in any way. Right now, they can track a mango from South America to Walmart in about 4 seconds. Like, it's just like, you know, a bunch of triggers and that's it. They can't, you know, they can't track a plant from like North Jersey or South Jersey effectively.
Right.
So, yeah. So there's a lot that needs to be done. And then obviously everyone knows payment processing. I mean, we don't have too much trouble with hosting, but Square just came out as the first major payment processor that is friendly to CBD. So if you have a CBD business, get out, start using Square. Don't get kicked out of PayPal.
That's who we use. It's awesome.
Great. Very, very wise tips. And thank you for mentioning that. That's another piece of the conversation I feel kind of like gets lost a little bit sometimes, the security component. Mm-hmm. And atop of that, you know, just security within your actual retail or cultivation center alone, your security plans, all the things, you know, in your application, for those of you who don't know, a large portion of your application is dedicated to your actual security plan. So that's a whole nother conversation. But something that when you first walk in, you've got no idea about. And even when you're halfway through, you still are, it's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
But
gonna say
ladies,
my last team spent 10 grand just on their security, just the written part. That's not even the blueprints, the diagrams and all that. And it's actually really onerous and unnecessary in cannabis. And it does frustrate me because CVS, it's enough opiates to kill the town and they pull down a little gate. And we have drones that will chase you down the street off a dispensary.
right, right. And Tara, same here. My security surveillance, just in order to put this property on an application was a minimum of $3,000. Just to have a security team come out and inform me on what I needed to do. We didn't even create hardcore blueprint plans or anything yet. So that was just a portion, $3,000 to start the conversation. So yeah, it's almost atrocious. That is another barrier that's really tough. Ladies, thank you so much. This has actually been one of my favorite panels ever because of you guys. I think that being able to have such a wide range of topics and, with very few panelists actually is super intriguing, super interesting. I can't thank you enough for getting involved and sharing your knowledge with us and your audience. I know even as tonight's moderator that I've actually gained and learned quite a bit tonight that I was not expecting. So I love that. And thank you all. So I think now, if it's okay, we'll invite Ben back into the conversation. I guess we can invite a man back in, whatever. And,
all right.
And
Get out.
We'll kick off that Q&A if that's cool.
Awesome. Well, Chelsea, you absolutely crushed that moderating. I'm about to just hire you to be the moderator for all of the events because you're better than me. So thank you. You're awesome. I appreciate you taking that one because I really felt it was better for this conversation to be hosted by you. So thank you. And thank you to all the panelists. This has been extremely insightful. I've been very engaged in the background, just kind of letting it all sink in and really understanding kind of what you're going through in some of the struggles with business. And I want to be there to support you wherever I can. So just want to say I'm an ally and anything I can do to help, I'm here. So,
Thanks, Ed.
oh, of course. Thank you all for being here. And thank you to the attendees for being part of this and making it all possible. Before I give everyone a chance to kind of just let everyone know where to find them and everything, let's do a quick fire round of Q&A because I see right towards the end, everyone wants to drop all their questions. So I'm going to, with the Q&A, basically anyone who feels called to answer. It's not like I'm going to call on anyone specifically, just if you feel called to answer, unmute and pop in. All right, so the first one being, are there any hosting websites that allow CBD products to be sold so you don't have to risk your site being shut down? So I guess this is about hosting for cannabis products. If anyone has about that.
So don't use Shopify. They allow it in Canada right now, but they're still being sometimes I would do WooCommerce because it integrates with Square. So it's a pretty seamless integration. Of course you could always host your own, but WordPress, WooCommerce, I would support them because they were the first to come out. And even though people are jumping on the bandwagon now, why not, give business to the people who supported us when no one else did.
Yeah, I second that. We've been using WooCommerce for quite some time. We were beta with Square, and they've just been unbelievably awesome when it comes to cannabis. And they actually are amazing small business supporters. Square is as well. They have a lot of ancillary services for especially in this gray area.
And if you sign up for Square, use code tiramisu.
I love it.
Get
That's
it, girl.
what it's all for.
I think you get something off. I forget what it is. I don't know.
Get it.
Use it.
Absolutely. Awesome. So this next one actually is directed to Shirali. Does legal cannabis extend into the water? So for Hudson River, the shore of Barnegat Bay, basically the question is, if the Coast Guard patrols the water, what are the regulations if you go out to sea versus the land?
Good question.
That's actually a really great question. And it's tricky because so the state of New Jersey owns certain like the tidelands and they own up to a certain amount, and then that's when federal jurisdiction starts. And also Hudson River, I think, is owned by the state of New York, so it's not even New Jersey. So that would be, I don't know the legality if you would want to do it because New York hasn't legalized, New Jersey has. We share obviously authority, but it depends on the waterway. So if she has like a specific, I saw earlier in their chat she wants to do cannabis yacht cruises, which I'm totally down for. So if she wants to reach out to me, I'm happy to like help. And if she has a specific area, I can look up the regulations for her.
Which I have to say, Gabby, that sounds so cool. Talk about creativity with distillery. Oh my gosh, I will be on that boat, and I know the trio will be too.
Yacht massages, cannabis yacht massages.
Yeah. Oh, there we.
I'm gonna be on. Yo, do I get an invitation? I want to be on the boat. Let me.
No.
On the boat.
No boys allowed.
Women only, Ben. Women only.
All right. You can have the boat. You can have the boat. I'll just watch from afar. I'll watch from the land with my binoculars. I'll be like, "You're doing it right. You're doing it
No,
right."
that sounds
Like
creepy.
each
No,
other.
back.
Rent a
Don't
boat
quote
and
me on
do
that.
it anyway for fun.
All right, so hit up Shirali. She'll get you some details based on what you're trying to accomplish with the yacht. That's awesome. All right, next question. Is there a cybersecurity group for cannabis? Anyone know anything about that? I know that's kind of big.
There is a cybersecurity law firm. There's a law firm with a cybersecurity department called Breckage, Breckage, I believe. And then aside from that, I believe it's more independent people. I haven't heard. My boyfriend actually, he works in cybersecurity. He works for a large company called Optiv, and I've been picking his brain if he's seen anyone coming out, and I don't. So I think if you are into cybersecurity, there's a really big need right now for someone to kind of step out as the front runner.
Yeah, it's really just smaller providers adding it on, but there aren't any leaders in this space yet.
Incredible. So this is a good opportunity for Chelsea to shout out Blazing Bakery, because someone asked, what's up with that blazing container Chelsea was holding up earlier? What's up with that, Chelsea?
Oh man, you know what? I could give the shout out, and I will say, as a consumer, they're amazing and they work very, very well. But as the original creator and literally the first person, not just woman, but first person to own an edibles license in order to do such a thing, is the creator herself, Tara. Actually, Tara, yeah, tell us more about, so this is Blazing Brownies, but you oversee Blazing Bakery.
Yes. So Blazing Bakery is the bigger brand. And actually, well, announcing here, I'm starting to expand it to Blazing Brands this year. So I will not only have Blazing Bakery, but I'm doing a woman's line, a men's line, a pet line, which I already started, called Blazing Barkery, which is for our animals, and a workout line as well. So it's going to become an umbrella company for a lot of different cannabis brands.
That is so cool.
Thank you so much. But yeah, I got started, you know, I was making brownies for a lot of different people, and they turned out well. And my friends' friends asked. So, and I just said, I need to build the mousetrap. And it really started that simply, where I just made brownies. They turned out well, and I made the mix, and it really took off. I got a video that went viral for 2014 at least. Yeah. And I got approached by Spencer Gifts, and it was in their 1,000 stores, and now it's many thousand. And yeah, it's been a very cool journey, and I look forward to finally getting some edibles in my home state in New Jersey. But yeah, follow me, check out the website, check out the new pet products. I'm really passionate about that. If you do give CBD to your pets, do I have a minute to just go on a quick rant here? Yeah. Okay.
That actually is a good transition. You'll kick off the final rant words of where people can find you and what's next for you. So,
okay, I'm going to go on a pet rant, and then I'll tell you where to find me. So hemp is something that's used for soil remediation. It's really good of leaching toxins out of soil. So when overseas, where they've had a lot of nuclear disasters, it's cheap. They plant hemp to cleanse the soil. Now, they used to just throw it out or make rope out of it. Now, since the CBD trend, they are taking that hemp and extracting it and selling the CBD overseas to us for a quarter of the price of what you could get it in America. So when you're buying those gas station CBD gummy bears that are just too good to be true price-wise, that's why. Now, as a human, you're probably going to be fine. You are going to be fine. It just might not be the most effective CBD ever. But when you put that in a dog's food, the dog can die. The dog can have kidney failure. So those toxins to, that size animal. So really, if you're giving your pet CBD, please, more than yourself, worry about the source. And, so that's kind of what motivated me to do Blazing Barkery. Was I have a 3.5-pound Chihuahua. I'm surprised he's not in the background somewhere, but, and I literally test things on him, because that's how pure everything I put. Cause I don't have kids. I'm not a marijuana mommy. I'm a fur baby mommy. I know people hate that word, But at any rate, so you can find me on everywhere at I Am Tiramisu. And then the podcast is Trailblazing with Tiramisu, and that's on all your platforms for audio and YouTube as well. You can check out the products at Blazin, that's BLAZIN, bakery.com. And I think, yeah, that about covers it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tara. I appreciate that.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you, Ben and Chelsea. You were an absolute great host.
Thank
yeah.
you, Tara.
Appreciate you.
Yep.
All right, going down to the Urban Canico crew, which is a mouthful to say all at once. But yo, if you could all let us know what's next for you as a company and individually, and where people can find you, that'd be awesome.
So together we are, working on the future of what will be a delivery license and hopefully the future of a consumption lounge. With recreation coming, we want to be bringing the people back together again. So we're actively working on that. And in the meantime, we have the live on Instagram on the Urban Live page, Mondays at 10 a.m. and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. And then, of course, you can catch all the content on urbanlive.com and urbancanico.com.
And you guys have a show after this, don't you? Tonight?
I'm going live with the Mommy Jane, but actually she messaged me and we may be pushing that. So
Okay.
tune in tomorrow because the Jane West will be on the Ferry Live. If you guys don't know
9 p.m.
who Jane West is, she's a super badass. She's from out west and she was a pioneer out there. So we're going to be discussing, all the things. And the ferries are going to start doing pop-ups all over the U.S. and rec states. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome.
Exciting.
And
Rebecca.
Stoner.
Oh, sorry. With the Rope Stoner, I just have, I actually got a new CBD skincare line by Sweet Earth out in California. So I've been trying that. I have a past of eczema. So I actually am sensitive to some hemp seed oils. So I've been trying out some different skincare products to see like what makes me react. I find that sometimes I get like super itchy, but then there are some products out there that must have that super natural kind of ingredient that reacts well with my skin. So far so good with the Sweet Earth.
Fingers crossed. So I'm not as big on the social media as these two are, but if you wanted to follow me, I'm Wilkinson Kelly 4 on Instagram, and of course you can see me on the Urban Live page, and I make appearances on the Rope Stoner page every so often. But I'm going to be continuing to create content with these ladies.
Kelly's a behind the scenes kind of babe, right? You know what I mean? It's like
done.
yes, we need everybody. Kelly's that lady. She's like, wait, hold on, look this way.
Until the live,
and she's the best blunt roller.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna be rolling a fat one up after this.
But we'll keep bringing you guys that education and content until we actually can get a license and deliver it to your front doorstep. So thank you guys so much for having us. Speaking next to all you women has been absolutely incredible. Super happy to connect and support you all in the future.
Love it.
Awesome. Thank y'all for being here. Y'all are amazing. And I want to test that blunt roll as soon as possible.
Yes!
I'll be the judge of that. I'll be the judge of that. Just kidding.
Challenge accepted.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. You all are great. Shirali, please let us know where we can find you. What's next for you?
Yeah, thanks. You guys can find me on Instagram at Blaze Responsibly or email me, Shirali at blazeresponsibly.com, I think, or Gmail. Sorry, I'll drop it in there. I'm just similar to the ladies, what they just said. I'm working on content to educate and help empower other people, trying to also work with some municipalities and counties that I've previously worked for that are interested in helping shape some of their local regulations, because much like what's happening with people, they are also getting proposals from consulting groups, ridiculous amounts, saying, hey, we can help you shape the industry without having any experience. So really being mindful of that and just kind of working on best practices, because that's what Blaze Responsibly is all about. Responsible consumption, business practices, just really educating and doing justice to the plant, going back to the roots, history, and all of that. And so and then eventually working on applications for anybody who's interested. Reach out to me. I'm happy to help you and have a conversation and get you started. Blaze Responsibly.
Yeah.
Nice. Threw the brand in there. I love that. Thanks for coming back. You are awesome again, and we appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course.
And thank you all, ladies. I love everything that everyone's doing. Really, really inspirational. And thank you.
Awesome. Well, Kia, what's next for you? What are you working on? Where can they find you?
Well, I mean, we just opened up a brand new wellness urban oasis, as I like to call it.
So beautiful, by the way.
Over.
So beautiful.
Thank you so much. I poured my heart and soul into it, and so did my staff. So really what's next is for us, we've been working a lot, obviously, in the wellness sphere, working with the American Massage Therapy Association, just in policies around cannabis use and consumption in states that it's legal. Right now, it's totally gone. But also, you know, the biggest question that people have is like, yeah, I got this product, I don't know what to do with it. I just kind of pop it on where it's pain, or, you know, it's like, oh yeah, I have eczema, I'm going to try out this product. But a lot of people don't really know when to use what kind of product. And so for us, we're really want to set out to create education around what to do with products. I think mostly for professionals, but also for just the general population as well. So watch out for that. I'm like the worst with social media. I'm just so busy doing shit that I'm like, I don't have time to tell people about what I'm doing. But you know what I'm saying?
All the way.
People are like, you should put that online. And I'm like, oh, you're right, I should probably put that online. But that's for sure where we're going. So please check it out. And if there's ever a question that you have where you're like, wow, I wish I knew what to do with this product, let me know, because that's good market research. So thanks.
Yeah, Road Stone.
Awesome.
Salvation Wellness. Everywhere, Salvation Wellness. I just forget, right?
I remember I think we talked about this about 2 years ago. You were on a CEO panel and you were saying something about having trouble getting in front of the camera and doing promotion. I think it's an edge for you. Maybe we need to
Ben, the thing is this, I've been really good with getting in front of the camera. I just don't put it out. Like I need.
Oh, it's all right. Get a VA.
I'm the worst.
All I'm saying is you put out great shit and people want to see more of you, myself included. So I encourage you to do it. But thank you so much for being here. You're awesome as always. And Chelsea, you absolutely killed it as a moderator, facilitator. You're great. You're amazing. Thank you for everything you do and for always being a part of the Green Rush collaborations. So please take the spotlight and tell people where to find you and what's next.
Thanks, Ben. Thank you, beautiful women of Cannabiz. This was awesome. I really had a lot of fun. This has probably been my favorite virtual experience ever. So thanks for making it so special, guys. What's next for me? Oh my gosh, the plate is full. You know, what I can share right now is that I will be in the coming, whenever that comes, 180 days, right? Whenever the opportunity comes to apply in the recreational round, my women-owned business, they'll be moving forward and doing so. But, what I'm currently really wrapped into is working with our local council members, the local municipality, zoning, things of that nature right here in the backyard of Jersey City. One thing that I'm personally pushing, and perhaps other people in the area are as well, but I haven't heard a lot about it, is a localized Jersey City cannabis committee. I think it's very, very important. I find a lot of times that when I'm discussing the current state of cannabis with our local leaders, they have absolutely no effing clue what's going on, and they are somehow expecting me to educate them. And I think that's, interesting. It's a good position to be in, but I also think that there should be some sort of localized committee to educate them, our community members, anybody who wants to be involved in that conversation. So if you are interested in doing something to that effect or starting that initiative with me, please do contact me, whether it be by way of Instagram, or I'll put my email in here so you can contact me there. But guys, this was amazing. Thank you all. Ben, we know where we can find you, Mr. JC Tech Meetup.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to send all the people who attended, I'm going to send you all the contact information of everyone on the panel, because I know there's a wealth of knowledge. So I want you all to connect and, build the community. Let's all be here for each other and support where we can. So thank you so much, the panelists, for being amazing. Thank you, the attendees, for showing up and spending the night with us. And let's keep the conversation going. Have an amazing night, everybody. and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Yay. Thanks, guys.
Have a good one, y'all.
Love.